The rain had been falling since morning, a thin silver veil against the towering glass facade of the Helios Conference Center. Inside, the grand hall gleamed under the golden glow of chandeliers. Rows upon rows of chairs were filled with business tycoons, journalists, engineers, and investors from around the world, each murmuring in anticipation of the evening's biggest reveal, the unveiling of the Helios Core, a device said to revolutionize sustainable energy. The press had labeled it the dawn of a new era. To most, it was another stepping stone in technology. To a select few, it was a crown jewel worth billions. At the center of the stage stood Victor Hawthorne, tall, striking, and impeccably dressed. As CEO of Hawthorne Dynamics, he carried himself with the quiet authority of a man who had never known failure. He raised his hand for silence, his voice smooth as polished marble. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "tonight we witness history. The Helios Core will not only redefine energy efficiency, it will redefine our future." Cameras flashed. Applause filled the room. The air carried the sharp scent of ambition. Victor moved to the edge of the stage and gestured to the sleek, cylindrical object at his side, a metallic device the size of a small suitcase, its surface a pattern of etched lines and polished steel. "This," he said with pride, "is the culmination of years of research, dedication, and the brilliant minds of my company." But as with all inventions, the question remains, who can truly take credit for this breakthrough? It was meant to be rhetorical, a flourish to close his speech before announcing his own name as the figurehead of the project. The audience chuckled softly. But then, something unexpected happened. From the far corner of the room, where the catering staff stood discreetly in their pressed uniforms, a voice spoke. It was quiet at first, almost swallowed by the ambient chatter. "I can." Heads turned. Conversations stopped. Even Victor froze for half a beat, his trained smile faltering. Standing among the other maids and waiters was a young woman, her hands wrapped tightly around a tray of untouched champagne flutes. She was wearing a standard black dress with a crisp white apron, her hair neatly tied back, but there was something in her posture, a stillness, a steadiness, that seemed utterly out of place for someone in her position. Her name was Elara Duvall. She set the tray down carefully on the nearest table, every movement deliberate. The murmurs grew louder, curious eyes flicking between her and Victor. "Excuse me?" he asked, his voice edged with disbelief. Elara stepped forward, the click of her shoes sharp against the polished floor. "I said," she repeated, her voice clear now, "I can answer that question." For a heartbeat, the room was suspended in shock. The journalists in the front row raised their cameras instinctively, sensing the scent of an unexpected story. Victor's eyes narrowed. "And you are?" "Someone you've never acknowledged," she replied, her tone calm but unshakable. "But if we're talking about who really invented the Helios Core, it wasn't you." A ripple went through the crowd, a mix of gasps, whispers, and even a few nervous laughs. Victor chuckled lightly, trying to mask the tension. "This is a private corporate presentation, miss. Perhaps you've confused the event for an open mic night?" But Elara didn't flinch. Her hands rested easily at her sides, yet her gaze was steady enough to make even seasoned board members uneasy. "No confusion," she said. "I worked on the design that made this possible, the catalytic system that stabilizes the energy transfer. Without it, the Helios Core would overheat in less than 3 minutes." In the third row, an older man in glasses, Dr. Rupert Lane, one of the project's senior engineers, stiffened. His eyes darted to Victor and then back to Elara, his expression betraying something like recognition. Victor, however, laughed again, louder this time, as if to reassert control. "I think we've indulged this interruption long enough." "Security." "Go ahead," Elara interrupted, her voice cutting clean through his. "Call them. But you and I both know what will happen if I walk out of here. I've kept my mouth shut for 2 years. I have every prototype draft, every email, every test log. Do you really want to explain to them, she gestured toward the journalists, why a maid knows more about your flagship product than your own board? The tension was now palpable, the air so thick that even the sound of the rain outside felt muted. Cameras clicked furiously. One journalist, a young woman with a press badge reading Global Science Review, raised her hand almost impulsively. "Miss, what's your name?" "Elara Duvall." She said it without hesitation. Former research assistant at Helios Labs. Current, Maid, apparently. Laughter broke out in the back, not mocking, but incredulous. This was the kind of drama no press invite could have promised. Victor's jaw tightened. "You resigned," he said, his voice low enough that only those nearest could hear. "You mean I was pushed out," she corrected. "After I refused to sign over the patent rights to my work." Several investors shifted in their seats. This was no longer a polished product launch, it was a live corporate scandal. Elara took another step forward, her eyes never leaving Victor's. "You built your empire on other people's backs, Victor. But this was mine. I designed it. I tested it. And when I wouldn't give you my design for free, you buried me. You thought I'd disappear." She glanced down briefly at her apron. "And maybe I did, until now." Victor's public smile returned, but it was stretched too thin, his jaw rigid underneath. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, turning to the audience, "as you can see, even the best events attract unexpected performances. I assure you, her claims are baseless." But Elara reached into her apron pocket, pulled out a small flash drive, and held it up between two fingers. "Baseless? This has every stage of the Helios Core's evolution, from my first prototype to the final design you're showing off tonight. All time-stamped. All mine." The crowd erupted into a frenzy of voices, questions, and camera flashes. Victor's confident facade cracked for the briefest moment, a flicker of panic passing across his features. And in that instant, Elara knew she had finally forced him into the light.